So Carlos Alcaraz comes back in the second round and plays a significantly better match than he did in the first round. And you got to give him credit because against Fabio Fognini, he looked rusty. He looked timid. He looked like he was trying a bunch of stuff just because he knew, I'm going to win the match. I'm going to win the match. There's no question about it. And we know that because he destroyed Fognini in the fifth set, 6-1. But this match, he was much more straightforward about it. I am going to win from the get-go, and he blitzed through Oliver Tarvet in the first set. Obviously, he is a British player, and anytime a British player plays at Wimbledon, the crowd is so behind him that sometimes it can get a little agonizing, a little scary for a player such as Carlos Alcaraz. But for Alcaraz, as somebody who loves having the crowd behind him and benefits from him. I'm not saying he can't play under adversity, but he hasn't had the same level of adversity as some other great tennis players have had so far. Let's see if maybe he develops some haters as he becomes more seasoned in the sport. Oliver Tarvet had the entire crowd behind him, but he just did not pose enough quality to really threaten Alcaraz at all. But he did break him twice, which is something to keep in mind. In the final set, in the third set, Alcaraz broke him, I think, in the fifth game, and we all thought it was over. Alcaraz is going to win 6-4, if not 6-3. You know what I mean? It's over. And then Tarvet broke him right back, only for Alcaraz to break him right after that, so it didn't matter. But it seemed that as straightforward as this match could have been, Oliver Tarvet didn't allow it to be that straightforward. So you got to give him credit for that because this should have just been boom, 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 boom. You know, with great players like Carlos, when they're playing an inferior opponent, we think that the moment that they break the other player's serve, that set, call it over. And eventually it was over, of course, but for them to be broken right back, you just don't expect that. But Carlos Alcaraz, significantly less unforced errors today. His forehand was stronger and much more powerful, hitting his spots on the baseline, on the end line. Nowhere near as hot today. I think it got to 70 degrees in London, so about, 22, 23 degrees Celsius, which is very good, I think, for the players and for the fans and for hitting and everything involved. Weather and heat isn't as much of a factor because I think it clearly affected Carlos in the first match, so that helped a lot. But yeah, his first serve percentage was 65% compared to 58% that it was against Fognini. He did have 4 double faults. That was one of the issues with his serve. It just doesn't seem like maybe he was trying too much sometimes, and that caused him to get a few double faults. Only 3 aces. He had significantly more aces against Fognini. Clearly, I think it shows that Tarvet is a much better returner than Fognini is. He broke 6 times, and, overall, he was in control of this match. Maybe there was some times where he let the gas pedal off a little bit, and Oliver Tarvet was hoping that he could get the crowd into it a little bit more and just to root for the British player, but Carlos is just too good, and he just showed his dominance and how good he is once again. And this result was never really in question. None of us are surprised that Carlos won this match really at all. I guess what is more interesting as Carlos and as Sinner and as Djokovic get later in this tournament is not if they win or not, because they're supposed to win, but how they win, how they make it look. We saw Jannik Sinner pretty easily handle Luca Nardi, another Italian. First and second sets did go a little bit far. Third set, he just, took him apart and said, okay, this match is over. So with Carlos, we're wondering something like that as well. Like I said, when he is on and when he's at his best, he's as good as they come. And you're just like, oh my God, how can somebody be this good when they are the best that they possibly can be? And that's what Carlos was for the first set and when he really needed to be in the rest of the match. So Carlos Alcaraz on to the third round. This draw is interesting because it seems like Carlos he has the slightly easier half of the draw and slightly easier quarter of the draw. So I don't even know a lot of the notable names that he's playing, and with everybody getting upset like that, who knows who he's going to be playing in the fourth round and the round of 32 and 16. That's when we really get to some of the best players, but who knows who he'll be playing in some of those later stages of the tournament. It'll be interesting to see who that is, but Carlos did what he needs to do, showed his firepower, showed why he is the best player in the world when he's at his best. And yeah, let's just see what he can put on the third round, because Carlos did exactly what he should have done in the first match. But hey, he's claimed to the new tournament now. He had already played and won in Queens. We know that. But even the surface is probably still not fully being adjusted to. It's a little bit cooler now. He played on center court, but he played earlier on center court today. I think the match started at, it must have been what, 4 or 5 p.m. in London, something like that. And we've learned something about Carlos, that he does not like playing night sessions. You know, a lot of the matches that he lost in 23 and 24 at the U.S. Open were night sessions. Australia, when he lost to Djokovic last year, was a night session. You know, maybe it doesn't help that those were hard courts where he seems like he struggles a little bit more than clay and grass, but night sessions seem to really bother him, which is great because, you know, once we get later in the tournament to the knockout rounds, none of the matches are in night sessions anymore. And with Wimbledon having a strict curfew, that definitely benefits Carlos. So good thing as this was in the day. I think the sun and the heat and even though it wasn't super hot, but the heat and just the light is something that Carlos prefers way more. And if you play him on his turf, he's as good as they come. And that's what he showed again. So yeah, not much else to say about Carlos. He did what he needed to do. Huge respects to Oliver Tarvet. They're about the same age, actually. Carlos, I don't think, is that much older than him or younger. I don't know. They're around the same age. They're just in completely different stages of their career because Carlos is like this child prodigy and Tarvet just needed to prove himself and uplift himself a little bit. Side note, fun fact, I learned while watching this match and listening to the commentary that even though he's British, Tarvet plays in the NCAA. And the NCAA has strict rules on money collection for players who are college athletes but compete professionally at the same time. He was supposed to get 99,000 pounds for making it to the second round of Wimbledon. He can't collect any of that money because of the damn NCAA. I'm like, are you freaking serious? He won this money independent of you guys. How are you in any way able to restrict or control what he is able to make? Now, I understand basketball and NFL, American football, I should say, because it's not NFL. Basketball and American football make significantly more money on the collegiate level than college tennis does. So a lot of those players don't need to collect any other forms of money other than their NIL deals to still be millionaires. Makes sense. College tennis gets nowhere near as much money because you know why? The best basketball players in the world who are 18, 19 years old may be in college. Some of the best American football players who are 18, 19, 20-year-olds will be in college. The best tennis players who are that age, Carlos Alcaraz, is out here winning Grand Slams at 19 and 20. You know what I mean? Ben Shelton is out here making it to the semis of Grand Slams at 20, even though he did play in college as well. They're there. They're at that level. They're playing professionally. He's almost doing you a favor by playing in college because he could just be doing this playing in Grand Slams and playing in big matches full time. I don't know if he's good enough to do that and have enough money and have enough ranking points to consistently be making more than some of what he's making in college. But for you to restrict him and say he's not allowed to collect his 99,000 pound check, is it 99,000? I'll have to check. But for a big check that he'll get to making it to the second round of Wimbledon, I heard there's a lawsuit that's being fought for that right now, but for you to have any control over that, and it's something that has nothing to do with you, if you say we're going to restrict players' salaries who play for, the University of Alabama football team or the Duke basketball team, on the court, you're not allowed to make money because we still believe that you're amateurs, that's fine. We're going to make it so you can make money through name, image, and likeness elsewhere, that's fine. But if I play in a professional tournament in my sport, that has absolutely nothing to do with my school and has absolutely nothing to do with the NCAA or whichever university it goes to, for you to have any control in that, that is insane. And I'm very mad about that. So I hope Oliver Tarvet gets his money. A bunch of rich people donate to his GoFundMe if he makes one or anything like that, because that is absolutely ridiculous. And the NCAA is horrible. I'll talk about that more once we get into, the college football season and the college basketball season again once it starts up. But the NCAA, they have way too much control on these players. And it's really bad. But hey, that's not the story. The story is Carlos Alcaraz. He's the guy. He's that dude. He's the favorite to win Wimbledon again. And let's see what he does in the third round, because I don't know who can stop him or how they will stop him. So I guess we have to stay tuned.